day, good afternoon, morning, and evening, wherever you are. It's 11 a.m. in Amsterdam time, drinking a coffee. So, what shall we talk about today? Actually, I wanted to talk about, I'm doing a fundraiser this weekend, and I'm going to chant live for 4 hours this esoteric Japanese mantra. And this particular mantra is used a lot for self-empowerment and also for cutting away all our ignorance. And I think this is so needed these days, that we get rid of our ignorance and really self-empower ourselves. It's such an important element. I'm doing the fundraiser for my son, Oliver. And Ollie is having top surgery. So he was born as a girl, and now he's a man. And so for me, being transgender is really also one of these very important elements, that we accept everybody. Now, when my son became Oliver, and I think, wow, this is such a great opportunity to stand up and stand out and say, hey, this is me, this is what I am, this is who I am. And it's so important to support that as a parent, as a society. For me, really, a trans woman is a woman, or a trans man is a man. And what is really important is also that we support everybody, and there is this wonderful thing going on in my mind, and that really is that we have to respect people in generally, and not just people, but the earth, animals, trees, etc. And the more we create the division, so within the system of Reiki, we often, talk about non-duality. And non-duality is actually seeing that we're all made from the same juice. And this non-duality, then of course labels disappear. A tree is not a tree anymore. Of course, we can still say it's a tree, but when we in that non-dual space, we see it as something very, very different. We see it from the ultimate reality. And therefore, the more we label things, this is nature, this is animals, this is humanity, this is this race, this is that race, this is gay, this is lesbian, this is trans, we still keep people sticking in these boxes. And the more we have these boxes, the more confused we get. Because we have these boxes, we say, no, you're not in my box, and you should be in my box, and if it doesn't fit in my box, you are not good enough. You can't live in society, you blah, 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 blah. And so therefore, for me, really, a spiritual practice, or actually in life, we have to break down these boxes of labels. Of course, labels is good. I still have to identify something, but that we soften these labels and ultimately break these labels. What means is this. I live across a park. So now I see a tree, and when I view it from a very dualistic viewpoint, I will say, oh, this tree is very different than me. Of course, that is true. But if I stay in that box, then I'm very limited, right? It's the same when we say, oh, I see a dog walking in the park, and I say, oh, there's a dog, and the dog or an animal is very different than a human being. Yes, from the relative truth, of course, we can say that. But if we stay in that space, it's tricky, because now we say the tree is different than a human, or the dog is different than a human, and the dog is different than the tree. And now we're going to make comparison, and we're going to label things, and we're going to judge it. The dog doesn't need to be as cared for as the human being, or the tree can be chopped off, or the tree is more important than the dog, or whatever labels we stick ourselves in. And this is where problem arises. So therefore, in our humanity, we need to start to work about seeing also things as universal truth, ultimate reality. And this ultimate reality, that this tree is made of these 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space. The dog is made of earth, water, fire, air, and space, and humans are made of earth, water, fire, and space. And when we break away these boxes, these labels, of course, I still say there's a tree, but now I look at the tree very different, because I see it's the same essence as the dog, and it's the same essence as a human being. So therefore, I'm going to be compassionate because I see it's exactly the same. The labels have fallen away, the boxes have fallen away. And this is so important, particularly now in this crossroad we are in humanity. And there is a British comedian, and I love it. He's fantastic. His name is Simon Amstel. And Simon Amstel, he wrote also a little book, and he's a stand-up comedian. Look him up. I think he's fantastic. I think he's absolutely brilliant. He also created some movies. The last one I haven't seen, something about Benjamin or something. I can't remember the title. But anyway, Simon Amstel, he says, you know, nowadays we have these flags, you know, for a country. So we have the Dutch flag and the British flag and the Belgian flag. And we say, oh, I am from Holland, and I am from England, and I am from Belgium. And he said, this is where the problem arises. And then he goes, it is not that we are from Belgium, we are from Holland, we are from England. And this is how his words, but I think it's actually, if you really think about it, it might be, for some people, this might be a bit confrontational, but if you really think about it, I think he's really pointing to the truth. And he said, we're all from our mother. So it is not until we have flags, not of our country, but actually of the vagina of the mother, that there will be peace, because then we're all from the same source. And, you know, for me, this is such an important element. I mean, he's making a joke about it, Simon Amstel, of course, but he's pointing to a really important truth, that we're all from our parents. We're all from the mother, right? We come out there. And therefore, it doesn't matter if I'm this or that or this or that, color, gay, trans, whatever. We have to respect everybody in that space when we let go of these boxes and these labels. And this is a crossroad at the moment where we're standing on. I think is so important to actually view that for ourselves. My parents always had a lot of gay people in their house, you know, who were actually kicked out of their homes. And I remember, I didn't know how old I was, maybe 16 or something like that. And a friend of my mom's, their son came out as being gay, and his father had a bit difficult with that, so he came to live with us for a while. And you know, these kind of elements for me was always just a normal thing. I didn't really see it as this or that. It's just another human being. And I think this is so important. And this is why we're the same as a tree, the same as an animal, the same as everything else, because we're all made of the same elements. We just look a little bit different and maybe feel a little bit different and express things differently. But in the same thing, we're all the same. So therefore, in a spiritual practice, and I think ultimately in life, we need to fuse duality and non-duality together, or relative reality and ultimate reality. So as a spiritual teacher, I have to not only invoke the relative reality. If I keep saying, oh, nature is different than humans, animals are different than humans, animals are different than nature, then I'm always focusing on this relative reality. And therefore, we never step out of that relative reality. As a spiritual teacher, I need to focus on the ultimate reality, that it's all the same. And nowadays I say, oh, let's walk in nature. Huh? There's the park, let's go and walk in nature. No, I am nature. I don't have to walk in nature, I am nature. I live now on the 11th floor of this high rise. It's 20 floors. And someone said to me not so long ago, I said, Frans, when you need to ground yourself, you have to go out to that park in front of you, in that park to ground yourself. And I said, this is all good and well, but I need to know that I'm the park on the 11th floor. I am the earth on the 11th floor. I am grounded there. If I always need to rely on the park somewhere external of me, then I'm seeing it all as something very separate. And this is where the problems start. So I need to really start to see, as a teacher, as a practitioner in humanity, that we're all like this. Everything is like this. It's never been divided. It's only in a confused mind that we divide it. So therefore, as the fundraiser for my son who's going to have top surgery, and what is fantastic for him, really empowering, I'm going to chant this Japanese mantra, Fudomyo mantra, what is about empowering and cutting away ignorance, I think is really important. So you can still join me for this 4-hour live event this weekend, chanting for 4 hours. You can join for 2 minutes, you can join for the 4 hours. The mantra will be there. You can chant along if you want, or you can just sit in that space and absorb it all and be part of this interconnectedness, what already exists. This is the same, I always found it very fascinating. And people say, oh, I need to connect to my client. I need to connect to the tree. I need to connect to the animal. Yes, but this is only saying that we're disconnected. As soon as I say I need to connect, I'm already saying I feel disconnected. We have to remember that we already are connected. We are never been disconnected. It's only in a confused mind. So these things, the way we use our language as a spiritual practitioner or teacher or in daily life, already points out what we're trying to teach, how it teaches, and what we think of spirituality. So it's really important to listen carefully what people say, particularly if you're going to do a class with them. It's not about connecting to people or things. It's about remembering we're all interconnected already. We have been from the beginningless of time. Right? And this is so important. So anyway, I'm quite passionate about it, as you can see, about the chanting. I just did some chanting for half an hour and I thought, I'm on fire. I'm going for it. So I'm doing this little live video. So I hope you join me for Oliver, my beautiful son, to get his top surgery going. And that will be in August. But the live chanting event is this weekend. And I will post a link on later, or you can find it on my website. So anyway, I'll talk to you soon. And keep thinking about these things. Relative and ultimate reality fused together, not something separate. Break those boxes, break those labels, and this is really where peace comes from. Anyway, peace to you all, and I love you. Bye.